Hey, what's going on? My name's Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a transformational coach here for the Patterns of Possibility. The Patterns of Possibility is all about helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In each episode, we'll explore topics that inspire confidence, direction, and resilience. This episode right here is very special because it is my very first interview. Since this podcast is all about finding harmful patterns and changing them into new possibilities, my conversation is around the patterns that he's had in his life, what he's discovered, and how he's overcome it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm very excited to introduce to you Aubrey Johnson, who has a podcast called Road to Rediscovery. Are you ready? Let's go. And you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. Like I said in the last episode, we're going to have guests. I'm going to interview people. I'm very, very excited to have my very first guest, a host of Road to Rediscovery. Wow. See, I'm so nervous. Can you see that? I'm so nervous. But I'm so excited to introduce to you Aubrey Johnson. So, Aubrey, please say hello to everybody.
Oh, thank you so much, Lee. Hello, everyone. It's so great to be here. I'm very excited to be on the Patterns of Possibility podcast. My name is Aubrey Johnson. I am the creator and the host of the Road to Rediscovery podcast. And, from one podcaster to another, Lee, I'm just so glad that we can uplift each other, and help each other, all in the name of poignant messages that resonate with both of our listeners, for sure. The listening community. How about that?
The listening community, yes, yeah, definitely. We have that's what I like, spreading positivity. It relates so much to what I've gone through, and just everyone has had these kind of experiences.
Mhm.
So I'm just curious about why you started and what kind of patterns have you recognized in your life? Because this is all about finding patterns and breaking those.
Right.
So what kind of patterns have you found in your life?
Yeah, Lee, that's a great question. If I were to go, oh, I guess as far back as maybe high school, um, in terms of patterns, I'd have to say um, one big pattern that I found myself kind of stuck in was having a sense of bravado, a sense of some people call it machismo, um, and being very confident of yourself, and being very determined and knowing what you want, and just having this air of and this vibe of having everything figured out, right? And knowing your way around the world, knowing how things work. Um, for a long time, starting out, I just thought I had it all figured out, and I thought, well, you know what? After high school, I'll be good, because I know how people are, I know how things work. I have it all figured out, and I may not know exactly where I'm going, but I'll move with conviction in a direction to where it will give me my destination. And
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
just figuring you have it all figured out. That was my pattern that I've been stuck in for a lot of years.
So it was like you were just trying to figure out exactly where you were. Because essentially, I heard you say that you were in high school and you weren't really the bravo machismo kind of guy, right? And when you got out
Mhm.
of high school, you was like, well, that's not a big deal. You can figure it out later because you've discovered what you needed to. You discovered, I guess, that high school just wasn't the end all be all. And after high school, you could go and explore the world, discover what you need to discover about yourself.
Yeah, that's true, and I didn't have as much bravado and machismo in high school, just like you said, but after high school, it really came to surface. It came to
Ah,
surface in such a way that, you know, um, it was a blessing and a curse, you know. One thing I was always told growing up, as you know, as a teenager, was that girls like a guy with a sense of humor. Girls like a guy who has gentlemanly habits, like opening the door,
Mm-hmm.
chivalrous, and they also like a man who's very confident. And so, confidence for me came very easily after high school, as I would do
Oh.
certain things like my full time job, and going to college. Taking my classes, how I interact with my classmates.
So I want to ask
Yeah.
you about that right there. I mean, like
Hmm.
it just seemed like a huge adjustment, like huge adjustment because I think for me it was like I went to high school and I continued on
Hmm.
whatever I was experiencing in high school throughout college, and it seems
Hmm.
like it was a change for you. And you were just a different person. So how did that come about? Was there an event or an experience that you could relate to or point back at and say, "This is when I really started to figure out this is I'm the machismo guy, and I'm gonna show everybody."
Yeah, that's a great, great question, Lee. I won't say that there was one definitive moment in time where I had that quote epiphany,
Mhm.
but what I will say is through my high school years, there have been multiple events that just kind of resonated with me to make me kind of think otherwise. And here's what I mean. Um, in high school, all I worried about was acceptance. All I worried about was
Mhm.
fitting in, okay, being a part of a group or identified with a certain clique, and to me that was very important in high school for some reason. The need to be popular was very important to me in high school. I'm not sure
Mhm.
why, but it really was, whether I was in band or in sports or just the whole student body. I just needed to be popular and I wanted to be accepted in different groups. And so a lot of uh, I had anxiety and didn't even know it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so a lot of that time I was kind of immersed into that. And then my senior year I decided, I guess I don't know, I think this just came over me. No one said anything like this. It just came over me.
Mhm.
I started to realize that, you know what? You don't need to validate yourself by groups that you're associated with. You can march by the beat of your own drum and not
Absolutely.
be so tied up into uh, trying to identify with a group or trying to be accepted by a group, because when you do that over and over and over again, you're in this crazy cycle and you lose any touch of who you are. So
Mhm.
you know
Exactly. So it
yeah.
sounds like you're in high school and you were just trying to fit in anywhere. Sports, band. I think, by the way, sports and band, like you
Hmm.
got in best of both worlds right there.
You do, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, best of both worlds. I mean, um, that's where most of the people are. I mean, in high school, that's where the cliques are. So you were trying to
Yeah,
fit into those things, and you just realized like, this doesn't matter. It's like essentially in high school, you're like,
yeah,
I don't need to do this. I can be my own self. Yeah,
right.
and so you
Do
took
my own
that from
self,
high
do my
school.
own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I took that from high school, and when it really started to kind of take shape was outside of high school, when I was still in high school, but I had a part-time job at a fast food restaurant. And so, a lot of the people I worked with in the fast food restaurant, they were adults. They weren't in school, and so, I would start hanging out with them, and they're like, "Hey, after work, you want to go here? Want to go there?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure," and then it's so to me, it's almost counterintuitive, but the moment I decided and felt like I can release from all of those wound up feelings of needing to be accepted and trying to be part of a group or a clique, when I released that, over time, I started to realize, wow, people were trying to jump on my bandwagon. People were trying to
Mm.
say, "Hey, let's go out and let's do this and let's do
Mhm.
that," and in other words, I didn't seek out anymore. I just go about my flow, and then people were like, "Hey, can I join you?" Or come
Mhm.
do this with us, and that sort of thing. So strange, but that's how it unfolded for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know that it feels kind of strange, right? It
Hmm.
does, but it
Hmm.
is absolutely natural for us humans to just look at something that's solid, that knows what it wants, and just feel like and
Yes.
try to cling to it. And it
Yes.
turns out when you stepped into yourself, you were like, "Oh man, that guy, he's confident. Where is he going? What is he doing? I need to see what's up
Yeah.
with this guy." And so, yeah, and so that just, I mean, that is definitely a weird feeling to first have spent so many years trying to fall into this group and fit into it, and to discover that
Right.
you are a force on your own.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So then you said back to the part where you said that the bravado was got you
Mhm.
in a little bit of trouble. I imagine that this is where it starts, where people are like starting to follow you around, thinking you're
Yeah.
interesting and so
Yeah.
forth. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Again, the bravado attracted a lot of people. They say, "Hey, he's confident. He's going in this direction. It must be a good direction." Kind of like Forrest Gump. I don't know if you ever seen Forrest Gump, but when he
Yes.
started running, and as he's running and running, then all these people start to join him. They don't know
Yeah.
why, but it's like,
Yep.
"Hey, he must be doing this for a good cause." So they
Mhm.
start joining. So that's how it was when I had this bravado, when I had this sense of self. Now, I was never self righteous to the point where I started putting people down. Never did that. And I
Mhm.
was never self righteous to where I would say, "Hey, everybody, look at me. I did this, I did that." But
And
I'm sorry.
you also didn't form a cult or any kind, right?
No, I didn't form a cult
Okay.
of any kind at all. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's
Because
just get
charismatic
that out
leaders.
there.
Okay.
That's right. That's right. So where it started to kind of get me in a little bit of deep water, Lee, is a young adult now, right?
Mhm.
I have my first office job. I turned 21. Most people in the office are, older than me. They're in
Mm.
their mid to late 30s, early 40s. And so, they've been in the adult scene for a while. I'm just turning 21 and they're taking me out for my 21st birthday. The first time I can legally drink,
Mm.
in an establishment. And, I had that bravado then, but then the way they took me under them and I was part of them, it just boosted my ego a little bit more, and so it got to me to the point where I thought, you know what, I can work real hard, which that's part of my ethic anyway, to work real hard. And back then, my slogan, my tagline was this. Back then, my mantra. Back then, my mantra was this: work hard, play hard. Okay.
Okay.
And so I worked very hard, but you know what? I played very hard too, and
Mm.
I convinced myself, again, bravado. I can go out and party any night of the week until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, drink
Oh
as
my
much as I
god.
want, and
Uh,
still make it home safe, and still get up to be at work at 8 o'clock, you know. And
I
I
mean, a
did it.
21-year-old
Yeah,
metabolism. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I did it. And then, you know, you think, and this is true, for someone to be humbled by, and realize that, hey, newsflash, you can't do this. It's not sustainable. It didn't happen to me right away because I was getting away with it. I
Mhm.
was doing it. And the longer I got away with it and the longer I was able to do it, it just boosted my ego up even more and gave me, just made me feel like I had more control, made me feel like that that I, you know, that
Hmm.
I can, that I do have it figured out,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, that's where it started to, um, kind of, take a decline, so to speak.
Okay.
And yeah, my early 20s, my mid 20s, you know,
So you're saying that that kind of pattern lasted throughout, for several years. You were just going out, having partying a bit, coming to work and doing it, getting away with it for a while.
yeah, yeah, it lasted until, I guess you could say, my late 20s, early 30s, because as I got
Wow.
older, things started to happen. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
impressed. I'm not saying that people should go out there and do that, but I'm
No, no.
definitely genuinely impressed by that because it takes. I mean, I mean, I've been drinking before too. Before, like, I
Yeah.
mean, I drunk,
Yeah.
I drank like you did, like you're talking about, but it didn't last me
Yeah.
very long because I couldn't handle it like that. But yeah, so I can imagine, like, with that, even me saying it now, you can probably feel like some boost of
Mhm.
confidence from it. But I can see like people around you, like saying, "Hey, you do a great job, good at your job," and you come in, you're like, "Yeah, I was out partying
Yeah.
last night too, and on the bomb here." So
Yeah.
what? I got it figured out. Even more boost.
Yeah.
Even more boost. All right. So
Even more boost. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So what ended up breaking that for you? Like what happened that was there something in your late 30s? You said something started to happen. What was that?
Well, yeah. Yeah, just different things started to happen, like, I don't know, one night I think I went out and I was with some friends, and I lost my keys. Couldn't find my keys, and bars closed at 2 o'clock, and we were just um, looking around for about an hour and a half. I didn't find my keys till 3:30, in the morning,
Hmm.
and then I hop in the car and, go home from there. And then another time where oh my gosh, this was horrible. Um, I was supposed to get up and train a group of guys, at 6:30 in the morning, when I was traveling for business. I traveled a lot for business for my previous company, and I was supposed to not get up at 6:30, but be in the office ready to train them at 6:30. Okay, and I
Hmm.
was out till about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and with some people from that office, right? And they were showing me the area because I came in from out of town, and man, we really tied one on, right? And
Wow.
so, I couldn't pull that off then, because as soon as I hit that bed after that night, I woke up to a phone ringing and someone asking, "Aubrey, where are you? Where are you?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And I hurried up and rushed there and everything. And
Well, what time
oh,
was that phone call?
the phone call was about 8, I guess, 8 in the morning.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And so, I was that was some years ago, thankfully, and
Yeah.
I
So what
beat
happened?
myself up over it a
Well,
lot.
what happened that the job thing, did they just like, because it was part of your, I mean, I'm thinking that you're still at the same company and you're just going through the patterns at the same company,
Yeah.
and this is still the company that you started with.
Yeah, I mean,
And
before
okay.
yeah, I'm no longer there. The company I'm with now, I've been going on 7 years, but the previous company I was just referring to you on is, I was there for 21 years, and this
Ah.
happened. Yeah, and see, this happened in my 3rd year there. So, you
Oh.
know, yeah, so, again, I was in my mid to late 20s. These things started to slowly happen, one after another, one incident after another, to where,
Mhm.
it's like, Aubrey, okay, well, you didn't do this in your early 20s, and now this is happening, and
Mhm.
I didn't heed those signs, right? I didn't
Right.
heed those signs, and that's a big part of where the road to rediscovery and the idea behind it came from, which we can talk about later. But um, I didn't heed the signs, and then things got worse. And whenever I traveled to different cities, I would see what's the hottest night spots in those cities.
Mm-hmm.
And then after working hard, I'd say putting in 10, 11 hours, I'd go to the hotel, get a good workout at the gym, go back to my room, take a shower, change clothes, go out to dinner, and then have drinks, find a bar to go to, or it may be a restaurant bar, where I would
Mm-hmm.
hang out with, my coworkers from that area. And it was a vicious cycle, but I did it over and over again, and I had a lot of fun with it. And then March of 1999, Battle Creek, Michigan, and
Well, it sounds like a day
yeah,
to remember.
a night to remember that will go down in infamy. And yeah, that night, um, I was driving home from a bar, and it was like 3 in the morning. And I'm doing pretty well, and I get halfway to my hotel. I get to a traffic light, and it's red. And I press on the brake, and I wait for it to change, and I fall asleep with my foot on the brake.
Oh,
And next thing I hear is tap 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 on my window. I look to my left, and it's a police officer. And so from there, I roll down my window. He asked for my driver's license. He asked me to step out of the car. He gives me a test, a breathalyzer, and then I'm arrested for DUI.
okay.
Yeah,
So
and
I've gotta ask you though. I mean,
mhm,
so the last place you left us, visually, I'm sitting here at the stoplight with you, with your foot on the brake.
mhm.
So what happened to the car? Like, how were you driving and then ended up in a ditch somewhere and he tapped on your window, or
No,
you just kind of parked
I,
yourself and fell asleep?
I fell asleep with my foot on the brake
You're
at
kidding.
the light. The
Wow.
light turned green, and I stayed right there.
Oh
So
my.
yeah, yeah, that's how it went down, man.
Wow. I just imagine that, do you, because I guess I would just pass out and like my foot would be off the brake, or I'd just be
Hmm.
in the passenger seat, just slumped over. But
Yeah,
that's an incredible story. I'm so glad that, that was something that
yeah,
was, a bad thing that happened. Nothing worse could have happened. I mean, something worse could have happened.
right. It could have been exactly. It could have been a
Yeah.
lot worse. Yeah, yeah. And so that started the beginning of me starting to realize, hey, I may not have this as figured out as I think I do.
Hmm.
Yeah, I may not have this as figured out. And there's some things that I may seem very confident about, but um, I need to uh, give myself permission to say, hey, I don't know how this works, or I don't know what this is, and ask for that help. I thought asking for help was a sign of weakness as well,
Hmm.
and so I had to come to terms with that, and that event I just shared with you was the start of trying to break that pattern and develop a better pattern.
Yeah, definitely. It
Yeah,
sounds like, there could have been there were many instances where you just kind of you got away with it. You got away with it. You were young enough to metabolize the alcohol. You were
right,
smart enough to do the job, so you did it well. You
right,
excelled. Nobody questioned that. And if you do that for long enough, like a decade, you were just gonna feel like, hey, this is easy. This is too easy to do. It's too easy to get
yeah,
away with. And if you encounter a challenge, I call it a challenge now, um, like falling asleep at the stoplight. It wasn't the thing that stopped anything. It was just another thing for you to kind of look at and say, all right, well, I can probably get over this. I can probably deal with this too. And because you said that was a start, it wasn't the
Hmm.
end. It was a start of changing the pattern. So there were some more events in there
Hmm.
that really drove it
Hmm.
home for you. So would you mind sharing anything that may have happened that you decided that, all right, this is enough. I can't. I'm going to change this. Because I imagine that it had to be something that's pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it was pretty big. At that time, when I got that DUI, I was married, and um, we had a little boy. He
Oh,
was one. He was one at the time, and I just I started to realize, wow, I can't be going around doing these crazy things when now I have a little one who's counting on me.
mm-hmm.
And I was traveling like constantly. Um, our pattern was this with our job and our project. We would go out of town for 5 weeks, and then I would come home and be home for a week with my family, and then fly back out to another town or city for 5 weeks, and then come back home for a week. And that
Wow.
went on and on and on for about a good 6 or 7 years. And
Wow.
and at the time that I was married to my first wife, and we had our son, um, I was in my last year of doing that, and I asked my boss for a job where I didn't travel. And so I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm telling my then wife, hey, my boss is going to give me a different job where I'm not traveling. I can't wait until I'm done with this project to where I'll be coming home every day, every night. And she was excited and everything, and we were really looking forward to it. And when
Mm-hmm.
it happened, it didn't turn out that way. In fact, it got worse. She got tired of seeing me around the house. It wasn't like I was unemployed. I mean, I was still going to work, but she got
mm-hmm.
tired of seeing me come home from work every night. And
Oh,
and we
wow.
started to get into arguments and fights. And then she told me one night, she said, quite honestly, I got used to you not being around,
Mm-hmm.
all that time. And I've always been tight with my boy, so that has never fell by the wayside. And then things kind of escalated between my then wife and me and I, to the point to where we were separated, and then filed for divorce. And this was 2001. And at that
Wow.
time, I decided to fight for custody for my son to live with me. And that just drew out the divorce because we had the custody as part of the divorce, so that, any other agreements or,
Mm.
between child support and all and visitation and all that stuff had to get all vetted out as part of the divorce as well. So something that could have taken less than 6 months to process, like a divorce, it took 3 years. and
Wow.
um, and it was tough. Tough thing to go through, an ugly thing to go through. But for my son, I felt it was very necessary due to the state of mind that my then wife was in, and that sort of thing. So with these real problems, which were far and wide different than all the fun I had in my 20s,
Mm-hmm.
um, I had to grow up, and say, look, Aubrey, stop going out to all these bars. Stop thinking you can party until 4 in the morning and getting to work at 8 o'clock. You need to get a good night's sleep. You need to be there
Mm-hmm.
for your son and not risk doing crazy things and get put in jail, and you're not there for your son, especially if
Yeah.
you're trying to
To get
get
custody.
custody. So um
Yeah.
yeah, there were some things I had to break. And that, when you said you felt like there was a big thing that happened, um you hit the nail right between the eyes, my friend. That was the big thing right there.
Yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
definitely sounds like it. I mean, like another human, another you running around without you. Someone to guide and someone to share your experience with.
Yeah.
I mean, that to be hard to be away from that. And I find it interesting. And I mean, I understand that it is, I imagine it's painful for you to decide that you wanted to put your family first and stop traveling so much and to just have it fall apart because you're thinking that's the way we're going to resolve it. That's the way we're going to get closer together and then still have it fall apart. So then, then after that, you had even more issues with it. And so what did you do after that? Like, so your life have changed. You stopped, you stopped drinking as much. You went for custody. You decided that you
Mhm.
were going to make your life better. So you've kind of identified some key things in your life that you wanted to remove. Can you tell us about what happened afterward? Was there any other key things
Sure.
aside from drinking and playing hard?
No.
Hmm.
Things started to really turn for the better, and there were some
Hmm.
things about myself that I was starting to learn. I quit drinking altogether, and it's funny how w- I was always told if you're going to stop doing something that's bad, replace it with something that's good. And so, as my son started to get older and older, like 5, 6, 7, 8, and so forth, I started to just really playing an active role in his life, and I had the job where I was going, to work every day and not traveling and coming home every night, and I was coaching his baseball leagues. I was a den leader for his Cub Scouts,
Nice.
and then I would,
Yeah.
take him to school and pick him up, help him, with his flash words and reading and homework. And we'd read a story at night, and I'd have him read a paragraph. I read a paragraph so he can get his reading skills better, as he got older, when he was like 5, 6, and so forth. And so, and that started to fulfill me. And also being a father really, really was my wake up call to say, Aubrey, you don't have it all figured out, you know? And,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm like, well, man, all I can do as far as being a father is go by the template that was placed before me with my parents to
Mm-hmm.
me and my siblings. But there's some things that happened in there that was of a different generation that I don't think would necessarily apply here with me as a parent. What are those
Mm-hmm.
things that I want to carry over, and what are those things that I want to quote break the cycle and do something different, right? That's where I
Mm-hmm.
really started to think strategically, between those things, trying to be very discerning so that things that weren't provided to me growing up as a boy, that I yearned for and needed, I wanted to make sure I had available to him as a father, giving that type of nurturing to him.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you have really stuck with the work hard, play hard. Because as you were talking about your son, you have the biggest smile. I mean, I'm sure the audience can hear you smile about how you spent time with him. And you're just like,
Yeah.
all right, instead of, this kind of play, you're going to spend a lot of time with Cub Scouts and
Mhm.
you're going to teach him how to play baseball. You're going to spend all this time with
Yeah.
him learning and having fun. So I think that's
Yeah.
really amazing and it sounds like it was way more fulfilling, obviously, right? So you also talked,
Very much so.
yeah, you also talked about
Mm.
how you broke the cycle with your parents, quote unquote, broke the cycle. I think that our generation is the one that is kind of more enlightened than our parents, but so we get to share this advantage of our enlightenment to the younger people the kids who are like 8 9 are starting to learn about their feelings and emotions and not just that a father is there to put food on the table and not necessarily hug or tell his son that he loves him, so those are some of the things that
That's right.
it sounds like, yeah, it
Spot
sounds
on.
like that, yeah, like you're there
Hmm.
for that emotional support as well. So that's pretty amazing. So it sounds
Absolutely.
like you rediscovered something.
Mhm.
So is that part of like the road to rediscovery? Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast? You talk about stuff like that?
No, sure, absolutely. Yes, that's exactly what we talk about. On the road to rediscovery, it's all about reflecting on life's lessons. All right. And, when you're I use my example with the 20s. When you're in your 20s, for instance, and you have a certain event happen, you know, you may not be in the right frame of mind to understand that there's a message behind that lesson. There's a message behind that event. You know, you may do whatever you can to put a band aid over it, whatever that event is, and then you move on, okay, with your early 20s mindset and fast paced type of living.
Mm-hmm.
And so, fast forward to your 30s, that another event happens. It's a different event, but it gives you the same message. And in my 30s, I stop and I think, hey, wait a minute. I think I've seen this before. I think I've seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a lesson or message. Something someone's trying to tell me something because this is happening again and I think I've seen this somewhere before. That's the point where you rediscover that message. You rediscover that lesson. And this time, you don't just put a band-aid over it. You actually deal with it. You reflect
Mm-hmm.
on it. You learn what that lesson is. And that lesson is contributed to your growth. And then the more you do that with different lessons that come to you, then the more you're equipped to help others who are struggling. All right. And so in my 30s, with that rediscovery point, I may be in a which I was, I may be in a better, not a better, well, I guess better, but a different state of mind than my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a state of mind and I'm of maturity. And with the state of mind of maturity, then I'm more aware that this event is providing a lesson to me, and I need to take that lesson and heed it and understand what it is. Again,
Absolutely.
that's the road to rediscovery. And quite honestly, Lee, it started out as a blog back in 2013, and I just wanted to chronicle different parts of my life and share in a blog, certain events in my life and what brought a point of reflection and rediscovery to me based off whatever blog entry I had. It could have been about when I was in high school. It could have been about when I was in college. It could have been about when I was out clubbing.
Mm-hmm.
I share those things, and then in 2018 I decided, because I have a hobby in voiceover, and I have a couple clients that I do some freelance work for projects doing, voiceover. I wanted to combine my love for wanting to have a show and for doing voiceover and put it together in a podcast space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I created, or I transformed, I guess, the Road to Rediscovery from a blog to a podcast. And to some degree, it's still a blog. It's out on WordPress. I still make entries, but I
Fantastic.
started sharing my own stories on the podcast, my own stories of my lessons, my life journey, and so forth. And then slowly, people who started to listen would email me and say, Aubrey, I listened to XYZ episode, and man, I mean, that was so relatable to what I went through, man. I mean, I'd
Mm-hmm.
love to share it with you and with your listeners. And I said, okay, sure, come on to the show. And then that's how I organically started to um, grow, to where I I
Wow.
interview guests. I host and interview guests. That's how it started.
Yeah. No, that's quite a story. And it's such an inspiring story where you just wanted to share, just wanted to actually, it wasn't even necessarily about you sharing with other people, not to grab their
Hmm.
attention or anything. It was about you
Hmm.
just getting it out of you. And other
Yeah.
people just saw it and gravitated to it. And that just makes me think of this pattern again of where you have this self confidence. Again, you're solid as a rock. You know what you want. You know how you want it done. And you go out there and do it. And people see, oh, look at this guy. he's got it going on. I've got to go see what's going on with him.
Yeah.
It seems like that is something that's going to be prevalent in your
Yeah.
life because it's continuing on. I mean, that's one of the things
It
that
is,
drew me
but
to
I'm
you.
trying to
So,
make it different though.
what's that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
I was
yeah.
just saying, having that confidence and everything, I still try to have it, have conviction, be very determined, but I want it to be different. And here's what I mean. I want to have that confidence and have that bravado, I guess you can say, in a productive, value add way that helps others, and um, at the same time, understand that I have a heart for service, and to be humble, to know that I don't have it all figured out. I'm not in control of everything,
Mhm.
and just have acceptance of that.
Wow. Well said. Well said.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to sit
that's
with
how
that
I
for a
feel.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it shows up like that too.
Hmm.
It definitely
Hmm.
does. It
I
shows up in
agree.
the work that you do and
Oh,
the
thank
connections
you.
that you make. Yeah, the people that are inspired by you. And it's hard to it's hard is it hard to believe? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
No, no,
But
it shouldn't be,
yeah,
as long as you believe. If you believe what you're doing in your heart of hearts is helping others, is if you're excited about something, you can't get other people excited about things if you're not excited about it. So
exactly.
I'm excited about my podcast. I'm excited about its message. I'm excited about every guest that comes on the show, and I'm excited to share it with my listeners. And so it's it I want it to be contagious. I want it
Mm,
to people to be attracted by it. And have that same energy to receive, that same energy to listen. So to me, it totally is an act of service. It's not to, hey, listen to how I sound, because trust me, I stumble over my words left and right. Sometimes I'm halfway in the middle of gathering a thought as I'm mentioning it or saying it out,
mhm.
and then there may be a little gap or something in there. So it's all, I try to be as authentic as possible, when it comes to just saying how I feel.
How you feel. Yes, and that gives
Mhm.
that's so many that gives the listener so much invitation to also do the same. So that
Mhm.
is absolutely amazing. And with that, I think that people should be able to find you. So where can people find you?
Oh, thank you so much, Lee. Yeah, the Road to Rediscovery is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Libsyn. It's syndicated wherever you listen to your shows. You can find it. Even tune in, Google Podcasts. The list goes on. Anchor. The list goes on. So
Awesome.
anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find it there, or you can access my website, road2rediscovery.com. That's road, the number two, rediscovery.com.
Fantastic. There was another thing that I wanted to ask you about, which is this wellness recovery or wellness alignment book. So, is it going to share some of the same lessons that you just shared with us here? Like, what can I expect when I go get this?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking about that, Lee. Yeah. This is called the Road to Rediscovery Wellness Alignment Series. Okay. And it's a series of 3 ebooks, and you can get it on the road to rediscovery.com/shop. And it's a 3-part series. Okay. And the message behind it is, you want to it talks about the importance of um, wellness practices, okay, and wellness methods to help and assist in attaining your life goals, whether it's relationships or career, okay, your
Mm,
self development goals. So, taking wellness practices, wellness methods, and aligning that to your self development goals of, say, finance or career or relationships, aligning that. And the three sessions, or the three series, or the three ebooks, are: the first one is um, laughter, and then there is mindful breathing, and then physical activity. So
Mm, very
I talk.
interesting.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, and trust me, I'm no therapist. I'm no licensed coach or anything like that. But I share uh, anecdotes from my journey in each of those books to kind of support or reinforce um, what I'm trying to, reinforce the message in taking wellness practices to align with your self development goals. Things that I've done to help
Mm-hmm.
me with my career and relationships, when it came to mindful breathing, when it came to laughter, and when
Mm-hmm.
it came to, physical activity. So I hope that makes sense, but that's what the Wellness Alignment series is about.
Oh yeah, definitely. It sounds like a full experience. We try to separate the mind and body, but that's not
Hmm.
necessarily so. You need to also laugh. You need to be thinking about your physical activities. You need to be able to,
Hmm.
breathe in, breathe out, and just
That's right.
regulate yourself.
That's right.
So yeah, it's really interesting. I bet there's some really great nuggets of information in there, because we only got a chance to touch the surface of your experience and your journey, but with that we've got a lot of information through it, so it'd be exciting to do a deep dive into those books. Well, Aubrey, I really
Oh,
want to
for
thank
sure.
you. Yeah, I really want to thank you for coming on and being my very first guest. It was an absolute honor to have you. And maybe sometime again you'll come back and we'll reconnect.
Oh, for sure, Lee, no doubt, and likewise. Thank you for asking me, to come on your show and chat a little bit. I hope I, was able to add value and answer your questions clearly. It was a pleasure and an honor to be your first guest, and I am really looking forward. I mean, you have some really really great episodes of very value add information when it comes to, just being in touch in touch with your beat, right?
Hmm.
um, and so I really appreciate you sharing that knowledge with the listeners, myself included, and I'm looking forward to future guests you have on your show.
Absolutely. Let's go out there and show everybody that we'll look just like them. But
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. Just like them.
That wraps up my very first interview with Aubrey Johnson. I gotta tell you, that was so much fun. It's very interesting to learn more about his background, and it was inspiring to listen to him talk about the patterns that he had, take action on them, and turn them into new possibilities. My name's Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you have been listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. I hope that you found this episode interesting and entertaining, and if you did, please share it with someone that you think might find it interesting. Also, follow me on Instagram, find me on YouTube, find me on Clubhouse, Patterns of Possibility, and all social medias actually, Patterns of Possibility. Until next time, take care.